Welcome to the CEO Bench. We want to take you to a journey of leadership, transformation, and a journey of change management. But to start with, I want to just pick your mind, first of all. What is leadership to you?
Leadership, to me, leadership is providing a direction, being at the forefront of something or a cause, and it's not also being alone there, but having a following.
Welcome to the CEO Bench this week edition. My name is Eddie Okela, and of course, it's a Tuesday, very lovely morning, afternoon, evening, depending on which part of the world you are located. But this is the CEO Bench. The CEO Bench exists for us to bring you people who are climbing into that ladder to become the CEOs or those who are already in the CEO seat. And we want to talk to them and pick an insight from them. What is it like to be a CEO? What is it like to be on that CEO bench or on that CEO seat? What are they going through? These are people who have lived their life on that road, done something about it, and they have a thing or two to share with us. A lot of knowledge, a lot of insights, a lot of information for us to pick from there. And the CEO bench focused more onto what we called leadership, change management, and transformation all across the world and across the spectrum of leadership, across the spectrum of changing position from one end to the next. And my guest in the studio this week needs no introduction. Is the man who has been an A teacher before, 20 years of his life as an A teacher, and of course leaving Migadde Senior Secondary School to Asifiwe International. That's a huge change. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the one and only David Rogers Chinto of Asifiwe International School. Is the principal and the founder of the school. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We are still bongering, as you can see. And how have you been?
I've been well, thank you.
Yes. How is it like to be where you are at the moment? What is the feeling like?
Well, it has been a journey, so I guess it's not something you just fall into, so there is not such a feeling.
Yeah.
But I just thank God for how far we've come.
Okay.
Yes.
And David, welcome to the CEO Bench. We want to take you to a journey of leadership, transformation, and a journey of change management. But to start with, I want to just pick your mind, first of all. What is leadership to you?
Leadership, to me, leadership is providing a direction, being at the forefront of something or a cause, and it's not also being alone there, but having a following that defines the leader eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to now go a little bit more personal. Now that you have defined leadership, there's something called self-leadership. But before we discuss self-leadership, I want to take you straight to knowing you more. It's more of a personal question. Who is David Rogers Chinto? Where do you come from? Who are you? What are you? What are the values that define you as a person?
David Rogers Chinto is, I usually define myself, start with, as a teacher. I'm a teacher, I'm a father of 4, I'm a husband of 1. Yeah, so I'm passionate about transforming. I'm glad that one of the things you want to talk about is transformation. I'm passionate about transformation, and I've been doing that all this time. I've gone through all the levels of education in the Ugandan curriculum, and graduated as a teacher. Yes.
Okay. From a childhood perspective, ancestry? Who are you? Where do you come from? Who are your parents? We want to get into deeper knowing you from that level as well.
Okay, I come from Ginger. That's my ancestral place, my ancestral home. My mom is around, and my dad passed on about 15 years ago. I have siblings, 2 boys and 1 girl.
All right. And growing up as a child, you were a teacher by profession, and you speak very passionately about teaching. Growing up, were you always going to end up as a teacher, or what was life like when you were young?
Growing up, I always found myself in positions of leadership. Even when you are not intentionally being there to be a leader, you are usually pushed to lead. It can be a small group, it can be I so much did sports, so I always found myself in leadership of sports. But never did I figure out that I would be a teacher. So the teacher comes in later. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of career guidance. So never did I choose to say that I'm going to be a teacher. But somehow, as you choose your courses to go to the university, you choose engineering and something else, those fancy courses initially, and then you put education somewhere. The form has to be filled. So teaching had not been at the forefront of my thoughts. And when I failed to get my first choice, the second choice, I got my third choice on government sponsorship, and that was education. And as I started the education course, when you go to university, there is this belief that you start the course, you will change. Change of course.
We've all been through that path. Yes. Yes.
So I have this thought that I will change along the way, because I did the physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Yes. So, but then as it went on, I appreciated the education aspect. We did psychology. We did, unfortunately, we did a lot of physics and math, a little of education. So as we went on, I appreciated the course and started getting myself grounded in the course and the ethics that come with it. So I graduate as a teacher, and there I am as a teacher. I accept that.
But initially you wanted to be an engineer.
Initially I wanted to be an engineer, and that's what I put as my first choice. And I didn't get it, because by then getting some of these courses on government sponsorship was quite hard. So I got my third choice, and good enough on government sponsorship, because I was struggling in school, to stay in school. Actually, I dropped out of school at some time. So when I got a government sponsored course, it was for me a breakthrough.
Okay. Well, you are listening to David Rogers Chintu, the founder and the CEO of Sifiwe, in fact, principal of Sifiwe International Academy, who is right here on the CEO bench, and we are talking transformation, leadership, and change management. David, what a very fascinating story right there. Let's dive into leadership now. Self-leadership. What is self-leadership to you?
Self-leadership, in my opinion, is managing yourself. I know there is a definition between management and leadership, but let me use the word management. Managing yourself, the things you do, the way you manage, the way you move yourself, the day-to-day affairs of yourself. That is self-management or self-leadership. Okay. My thought.
And have you been leading yourself?
Of course. Personally, I think before you lead anyone else, you have to lead yourself. You can't shortcut that.
Okay. And the process of leading self requires that you are very patient with yourself, you are very in touch with yourself, and you give self meaning. And every day you wake up in the morning, you have to be very purposeful of yourself and the things that you want to do. Let's talk about leading yourself from a point of Rogers Chintu, the son of your father, of your mother, to the person that you are today in life? What has the journey been like?
Well, leading myself, I guess the first thing is self-discipline. I've tried to be good myself to start with, and that I think bounces off to be good to other people. But leading self in itself is my core values. I have core values. I have certain beliefs I work with, principles. So it has helped me a lot in, first of all, becoming the person I am and the leader I am eventually. But to start with, it helped me achieve certain things, because without discipline, you cannot achieve a number of things. Yeah, for example, if you're to be, I see my journey in leadership as having started from a humble beginning. Start with being a teacher, then you become a deputy head teacher, then you become a head teacher, and now a principal. All that, it's not that you put yourself in those places. People pick you. So they have to look at certain values you possess, and then they say, I think this person can lead in this area. And so they give you that responsibility. So
you would like to say that the law of process, as John Maxwell keeps saying, has been part of your journey?
Yes.
Going from, it says leadership grows daily, not in a day.
True.
And a person's level of effectiveness determines their leadership abilities. Let's talk about your leadership abilities. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you score yourself, and why would you give yourself that mark?
1 to 10, I would say 7.
Why 7? Defend the 7.
7. I think I've really, to start with, I'm still a student of leadership. Maybe after going through all the lessons, I'll be maybe 10. Because there are people I look at who inspire me by the way they lead. And I say 7 because all the responsibilities I've been given as a leader, I've performed. I look back to responsibilities as low as in high school, given a responsibility. I want to recall a time, I think that was a turning point, when I was appointed captain of a football team. Now, it's very hard to be a captain of a football team in S3, as you know. You've been to school and they are big boys. Yes. In S6.
Yes.
So being a captain in S3 was a turning point. I kept on asking myself, what do you mean? But as we went along, even now people talk about it, that, oh, you were very good, and I think the personality also mattered. So from there on, I became a leader in school, at university, and when I reached university, I was also shocked that I became a leader in year 1, that is first year. Never had there been whole representatives at that level, at year 1, at first year. It was in our regime that I became one, and eventually, of course, became a minister, as you call them, in the hall. So my leadership, there are some times when I've shied away from leadership, and I'm usually thrown back in. So you say, today, rather this time I'm not going to stand for anything. And people somehow push you there, and you find yourself to be a leader. I started being a leader in my primary. I was a deputy head prefect in my primary. And then when I came to secondary, like I told you, I became a sports captain through and through. I've done a lot of sports, even now I do. And then eventually at the university, when I also was chosen to be a leader.
Wow. Well, it's quite clear that your journey is a journey full of experiences, and we can see that your leadership journey has not started yesterday. It has been there, and I think on your scale of 1 to 10, you chose 7, and I think 7 befits you. David, let's talk about the leadership of David Chintu, from being a teacher to a deputy to now an a teacher. 20 years of teaching, if I may say, has been your journey.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the teaching leadership and the moment you led Migade Senior Secondary School before we get into Asifiwe.
Okay.
What was the journey like, and what were some of the lessons that you picked from there, and how were you able to navigate the pitfalls as well as the the change of different roles and responsibilities that were given to you, as well as leading yourself to now being the founder of Asifiwe International, which we're going to get into it, Academy. Yes.
Well, my journey into education started when I graduated as a teacher. But before then, I was a science student at Makerere College School, where I did sciences, PCM, and now my math teacher was a lecturer at the university. So when I crossed to university, you know, Makerere College and the university are just they are just separated by a fence.
Yeah.
So I would say I just walked from the college to the university, and there I found my mathematics teacher as my lecturer now in mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finished the course, he came and picked me and said, I want to post you to a school which is just starting. And of course, he was recommending me. I think maybe I was one of his students in the math class doing education.
And mathematics was not easy for many of us. If mathematics was easy for you, you're going to have to send us a message, because I know many of us got 0.
Yes.
Yes.
True, it was not, neither for us even.
Yeah.
So I was posted to this new school called Migade College. By then it was called Migade College. It was a branch of Makerere High School, Migade. So I was posted here, recommended by my mathematics teacher.
Straight from Makerere College?
Straight from Makerere College.
Yes.
You know, some of us didn't complete university and then we go home and then we walk the streets. Straight from my teaching practice at Makerere College, I was posted to Migade College.
Wow.
As a teacher. I walk in here and this school is just starting with I think about 60 students. Still building, the floors are not made, a humble setting. I can tell you that was a very testing situation for me. But I stood the test and went through. I was a teacher of physics and mathematics. I started teaching physics and mathematics. And then after 3 years, I became the deputy head teacher. By then the head teacher was Mr. Semwe. He trusted me with leadership. Because you know, leadership also has a lot to do with your mentors. Yes. Trusting you to throw in, to throw you there.
Yes, which is what we talked about. Leadership ability determines your level of effectiveness. Level of effectiveness determines your leadership abilities.
Yes.
So if you have a lead on your head, it's definitely no one is going to trust you with that responsibility. But every time you push the lead off your head, you're giving the responsibility. Yes.
So that's what happened. I became a deputy head teacher, and then after about 2 years of head teacher, the head pulled out of that institution. And you know, when you're staff of say 40, you have guys who are older than you, guys who seem to be more able than you.
They were teaching before you.
Yeah, they were teaching, a lot of experience. But then I was so surprised that this head teacher who stepped out recommended me.
Not the other guys?
Not anyone else.
Wow.
Recommended me to be the head teacher. It was a shock, but it was also, I was scared.
How old were you, by the way?
I think I was, I should have been about 28 maybe.
Wow.
So I said, okay, anyway. I remember the story of Joshua.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. When he was
Moses was leading him, and and then God says, prepare to cross. Yes.
He was forced into that leadership.
Yes.
So I accepted the challenge. So in 2007, I became the head teacher. Now, it was not only, you're familiar with your setting, Migade College.
Yes.
Now, there was a transition that the Makerere High, which was in town, was also shifting to Migade College.
Wow.
So the school was becoming bigger.
Oh, yes.
And the name was changing to Makerere High School Migade.
Yes.
You know that Makerere High School has a very rich alumni.
Yes.
So here I was going to lead a school, changing names. And yeah, I took on the challenge. And I tell you that I led the school for 7 years. And it was amazing. God saw me through. The school grew from glory to glory. The population grew. I learned so much. It was a good experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, how did you change from Migade to, leaving Migade to Asifio International School? That's a story that we want to get into. That's now change management. How did you manage the change from there? You've told us about the change that you've managed from being a deputy head teacher to being a head teacher of Migade, and then the joining of the two schools, becoming one and leading there. Of course, you have so many students who I know are watching right now and wondering. And one of them sent me a message this morning and says, that gentleman you're going to interview on the CO bench, he doesn't grow old. He was my head teacher. Look at me right now. We're in the gym at 6 o'clock this morning. And I say, I'm going to tell David, but welcome to the CO bench if you're just joining us from anywhere around the world. This is the CO bench where we talk change management, leadership, and transformation. You must have reached a certain degree of leadership at a certain level, then you qualify to be on the bench. Or you must be heading up there to the CO bench, then you will be able to qualify to come here. And of course, David Rogers Chinto is the former teacher of Migade College, later on that became Makerere High School, Migade, and now he's the founder and the CEO, and rather the principal of Asifio International School. We're going to take a break, and the CO bench will come back. And when we come back, we'll talk to David Rogers Chinto on change management from Migade to Asifio International Academy, where he starts the school with only his son. I don't know how that is, but the dream of one son has now become a dream of more than 200 students in that school doing ACA curriculum. Stay right there. I'll be right back after the break. This is the coffee break.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SIL Uganda on number 0772443085, or check our website www.siluganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
Welcome back to the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela, and in the studio is David Rogers Chinto, who is the founder and the CEO or the principal of Asifiwe International Academy, a school that started with a dream, looking for a school for his son at home, and it turned out to be something of a development. Is now looking after very many children, over 200 plus kids, providing jobs for people. That is my kind of change management and transformation. David Rogers, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
We are supposed to keep bungling because of coronavirus, and
it's understandable.
Yes, I'd like to read you a comment from some people here, and also encourage some of you guys out there to actually send us your comments. Kisses and disses are welcome, and we want to hear more from you. If you have a question for David, please send it through. If you a former student of Migade College, please, or Migade College or Makere College, Migade, please send us your kisses and disses. And your former headmaster is actually here talking to us and sharing the story of change management and transformation all across. Now, I want to read the first comment coming in from Patrick Kavuma. This seems to be a staff. He says, good staff, Principal David Kavuma here, and I see my auntie Esther Yatesa there, really tune into. We have some serious guys and looking forward to. It says, great leadership strands. His servant leader, we have seen him lift chairs, cleaned, and just been normal and subordinate, yet he's the head of the school and he's the founder. So that's coming from there. That's a good comment from there. I've got a comment here coming from the USNs. Wow, Eddie Okela, thank you very much for the CEO Bench, bringing us some people who we really love. That gentleman was my A teacher at Migade and is always humble. I am really great to have gone through his hand to be the person that I am today. I live and work in Denmark. My name is Moses. Wow.
Moses.
Yes, so I'm not sure if you know all your kids. I have another one here. It says, Eddie Okela, thank you very much for the CEO Bench. My name is James. I live and work in Tanzania. David Rogers Chinto was my A teacher, you know.
Wow.
So you got a lot of students coming up there and talking to us. So please send us your kisses and disses. And if you have any comment or anything you want us to share or a question you have for David, please share it. The story of David and Asifiwe International School is something that we need to learn from. And of course, the man on the CEO Bench headed to the top. And we are privileged to note that David is about to be sworn in as the president of the Rotary Club of
Kampala
Sesa Highlands.
Yep.
What a transformative move right there, and of course, change management. David, let's get back into the show. We were talking about the change management. Let's talk about the story of change management from Migade to Asifiwe International School.
Well, like I shared that I'd led Migade for about 7 years.
Yes.
So in the 7th year, it so happens that the school changed ownership. And the new owners felt they needed another team of their own to lead the school. So I was asked to step out. I did step out. You know the things when you ask, you don't insist.
Yes. You're told that, well, thank you very much for your service. We would like to now, it's been nice working with you.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's all God's plans, you know. And I stepped out, but I promised myself that I'm not going to again do this, what I was doing, because I'd been in that school and transformed it from scratch, from startup.
Yeah, from 60 students
to about 800.
Yeah.
So I thank God for that opportunity, and I thank the owner, Mr. Chisubika, for allowing me to grow. So I stepped out, but never thought of starting a school. My story is that when I stepped into the school, I had discomfort with the way the education system was. I kept on saying, is this all? Is this all that children can get out of school? You mean I was teaching physics and math? Is this all that we can get out of school? So I started creating certain programs in the school. to teach children or students things that are not in the main curriculum.
Yeah.
Because firstly, I thought that it's not all about math, physics, and
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, coming from you, who has been teaching this, it's really an interesting story to hear. I want to hear more of that, because usually people are just stuck to that road and they don't want to change. Yes.
Yeah, so when I started my teaching, I saw we can do something more. We can do something. So I started thinking through what else can we teach. And when I became head teacher, I now kind of was comfortable with introducing a number of things. So I started a program called the Behavior Change Program, which I used to say casually that this program teaches things that are not taught in school, yet we were in school anyway.
Yes.
So that program could teach skills,
Yeah.
life skills. I could teach behavior, leadership, character.
From mathematics, physics,
Yes.
now you are teaching behavior change.
All
and-
those.
Yes, yes.
So my turning point was when I attended a workshop on character building in schools from someone, it's called Dr. Mario from South Africa. He came to Uganda, and I was invited, luckily, to attend that workshop. It was teaching us how to teach character in schools. So I embarked on that. I got the curriculum and started teaching the behavior change program. And a number of children, or rather students, subscribed to that, and they thought it was working well. It was a peer kind of teaching. Now, so when I stepped out of school, of Migade College, by then it was already Makerere High School, Migade, I was on the street. Remember my son, which story I will also tell you later, was using an international curriculum from home.
As a home school.
Yes,
curriculum.
yeah. So the whole we shifted the whole family back into town. Migade is out of town, about 25 kilometers out of town. We shifted back into town, and by then I was already running a business with my wife and her sister, a restaurant business. So when I stepped out...
As a teacher?
Yes, we started the business.
Normally teachers don't involve themselves into entrepreneurship, but you are also doing entrepreneurship. Yes.
Yeah, you know, actually one of the things that I used to share with the students was the financial literacy.
Yeah.
And financial literacy has a lot comes a lot with the investment. So as I was teaching, we opened a restaurant on Kampala Road for my wife to manage and all that, right? So I stepped out. Now I stopped working as a teacher. I instead opened a second restaurant in Wandegea. I actually had 3 restaurants. One was in Makerere University, somewhere in Chikoni. Another was in Wandegea, and then that old one, which was on Kampala Road. So there I was now, from teaching to running businesses.
Yes.
And I felt not satisfied with what I was doing. Actually, at one time, I also ran a baking company.
Yes.
So life downtown, I call it life downtown, was challenging. Life on the street was challenging. It was not for me. And I struggled. The restaurants, one of the restaurants was not doing well. And then at a point, a certain point, someone told me, but why don't you start a school? But in my mind, I've never thought of starting the national curriculum school. Because I had, my thoughts were that there were so many gaps in the national curriculum, which I couldn't address. Even when I was there and tried to put up a number of programs here and there, it was not sufficient enough. Because after all, eventually the curriculum takes over.
Yes. So your idea would not be able, because the national...
It's not even examinable.
Yes, the national curriculum must first fit in, and the process is quite long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was now using SEE at my home for my son. Now, by that time, even my daughter was coming in. And my wife was managing this. I remember I started using SE when I was a teacher in Migade. Because when our son was growing up, when he made 4, we already started thinking about which curriculum to use. I promised myself that my son, my children, will not use the national curriculum.
But you are the teacher of mathematics
exactly.
and physics. And, I mean, how?
Exactly.
Yes.
For me personally, yes. I thought that we were not teaching kids.
Okay.
We were not teaching. You know, you give them, I was teaching physics mostly and math a bit.
Yes. And these are complicated subjects.
You give them physics. This year they study, they go. Another group comes, you teach them, they study, they go.
Yes.
And I felt that's not enough.
Wow.
And which kind of studying are you talking about? They come, grasp whatever you've taught,
Yes.
reproduce at the exam,
Yes.
and go. And
so basically, David, what I'm saying here, which is what we've always said, is that I give you this as a teacher, you're a student, I give you this material, you take the material, you cram this material very well, give it back to me the same way. If it's okay the way I have given it to you, I mark you all good.
Right, 100%.
If it's not, I give you less.
Yes.
That's why some of us got passes, because we're always giving other things which we thought about, we gave our thinking. Yes, anyway.
Exactly.
Yes.
And to make it worse, if you give me the material and I miss a word or two, I'm wrong.
Yes.
You don't even allow me to be creative and give a different answer, right?
Yes.
So I thought, no, there has to be a change.
Yeah.
So we started looking for a curriculum for our children. By then it was one child. And I thank God that I landed on the SE curriculum. I was in a very transformational meeting with the pioneers of SE in Uganda, and one of them being Lona Magara.
Yeah.
She gave her testimony. I walked out of that room bouncing.
Yes.
That I had found the solution
of your problem.
of my problem.
Wow.
She shared about SE. There was a doctor, I've forgotten his name. He shared about his SE, his homeschooling. I went back to my wife. Now, the challenge was to convince my wife to buy what I found.
Yes.
I told her, we have to teach our children from home. I tell you that when we started teaching our children from home, there was a lot of backlash, a lot of questions, okay? But we started. My wife accepted gracefully to be the teacher at home.
And you to be the hustler on the street, because...
Oh, no. Yes. By then I was still in
Migade. Yes.
You know, you go to teach children, and yours is homework.
School, yes.
But
what a moment right there for us to just reflect about it. And we're talking about change management. For you who are watching the show, who are following the CEO bench, I hope you have a question for David, because that right there is what we are calling change management. How do you manage that change? That transformation, that change, how do you manage is what David is talking about. Please proceed, David.
Yes, so our son...
Your wife now starts to teach.
Yeah, she abandons her job and starts teaching.
That's change number 2 at your house.
Yes. Yes. You know, at times we cling on certain things.
Yes.
And for me, the way I saw this is that she sacrificed for the children and to teach them, other than insisting that, oh no, let me stay on my job and then things work out, but sacrificed to teach the children. And by then it was one. And he grew very well. He learned very well that when we changed, when I left Migade, I now had to look for a school. Because, remember, the income was reduced. Yeah. My wife had to go back to our restaurant.
And start running
the restaurant. So we had to put our son in a school using the same curriculum. I thank God that at that point, we were not challenged into going back to what we had wanted to avoid. Yes. Yeah, so you
went for an ACA program?
Yeah, we went for an ACA school. Yeah. And this time we now stopped homeschooling. We enrolled in a school, SE school, and our son started studying again. By then he was in grade 4. So now, as our son was studying, and now I take you back to the hustle I was in, on the street.
Yes.
My wife is in the restaurant, I was on the street. And I feel uncomfortable out there. I want to be back in.
7 years of being the head teacher of a great school, and now you're on the street because change has happened. New management came in, you found yourself on the street, and you're basically balancing the boat.
Yeah. So it's at that point that I realized that I was made for this, for teaching. And I bounced back. When I bounced back by going for training in South Africa, in the SE curriculum. By then, I told you I was inspired by the talk from Lona Magara and Dr. Mwine. Yeah, I've remembered. Dr. Mwine and Margaret Ogeda. Those are the pioneers of SEE in Uganda. And I appreciated it. But the turning point was when I saw a child who had used the SEE curriculum, how they presented themselves. I said, this is the curriculum I want to use. And that's when I went to South Africa to train and started at Sifiwe International Academy.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, David Chintu and I are going to be delving back on how Sifiwe started from there. What a story, what a moment right there. What a hustle on the street. 7 years at Megade, finding himself back on the street, walking on the streets of Kampala, hustling entrepreneurship, restaurant, wife, and the wife leaving the job and getting into this. And sometimes we're wondering, this person has become great, but we don't know the journey they have been through. That's the qualification for one to be on the CEO bench. The CEO bench is for those who are walking the streets, those who are going to the top, and those who have risen to the top, and those who are getting there. You have that story, and we go by nomination. And if you have a question and comments for David, if you have had it right there, please drop us that comment. We're going to read it. David and I will be back on the CEO bench after the coffee break to talk about how Sifiwe became the Sifiwe that we are today, and of course the transformation in that place as we wind up the show. This is the CEO bench. Stay right there. I'll be right back after the break.
The private sector is not yet fully utilized because not everybody can be employed by government. And we are looking at a future whereby more people are employed in the private sector than in government. So I think if we all work hard, if we all work together and invest in the right areas, there's been a lot of talk about value addition in the agriculture sector, in the mineral sector. If there is enough investment in those areas, I think it can create enough jobs for our children and grandchildren.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to take you to question number 4, Andrew, which is let's talk about your journey at City Hall and the foray into the executive director's office, which is as Andrew Chitaka,
very interesting,
as well as the director engineering.
Very interesting. I joined KCCA on 1st November 2011. And before then I was
David Rogers Chintu, the principal of Sifiwe International Academy. So we started Sifiwe International Academy from a concept of affordability and well laid out procedures. And Sifiwe International Academy started in 2016 with only 2 children, my son and my daughter, and it has now grown up to more than 200 children. I've been a teacher for the last 20 years. I started by teaching in the national curriculum, and ever since I started teaching, I've been bothered by what more can our education offer. By so doing, I discovered that we can teach our children much more in schools, and I introduced a program called Behavior Change Program, which in itself was to teach skills, habits, and character. And I was amazed by the results. Always got feedback that the children learned more from the behavior change program than the physics and mathematics I taught.
My name is Jeremy Baraka, a student of Asifio International.
Welcome back to the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela, and of course in the studio is the founder and the principal of Asifio International Academy right here on the CEO Bench, David Rogers Chintu. Welcome back to the show. And David, what a transformation, what a message right there. The small video, we have just played the small video of Asifio International School, and which you have given us. And there's a lot to learn from there. If you're a parent, where are your children going? Are you responsible for the development of your children, or are just going by the bandwagon of let's do these things? It's the same thing. We're hearing this first testimony coming from the man who lived it and still living it. He's been a teacher and still a teacher, and he's sharing with us some of the wisdom and the nuggets of navigating the difficult path in our education system to be able to create environment that will allow the young people to prosper. If you see a mistake, if you see something that is not working, you've got to work something beyond the challenges that you have. And of course, we've talked about leadership and self-leadership right there. We've talked about change management, and we went to a break when David was telling us his story about how Asifio started. David, welcome back to the show, and let's talk about Asifio a little bit more. We've seen the video right there, and I would like to know from you, how did you eventually start Asifio International School? I know you've talked about going back to teaching, going to South Africa, and then back, and from what I gathered from you, there was also a little bit of difficulties in paying school fees for your son in the ACA school. Can you pick up from there and tell us how you navigated that change that now even became something that you are now a principal of, and with the number of parents that follow you? How did it go, that change, managing it from that point?
Well, they say that need is the invention of all creativity, something like that. We had a need as a family. We had a need to see that our son continues with the curriculum we had found. When we were starting to use SEE, it was for our personal, for our need as a family. But then, like I said, when I dropped out of work and my wife had to go back to work, we couldn't homeschool anymore. So we decided to go for a school, to look for a school. So we started looking around for schools. And because my wife knew a lot about SEE, she could see that there was not enough service provision in the SEE curriculum in our area, in Kampala as a whole. And she said, I think there is something missing in the way procedures are being made in schools around. And again, the other schools, there were a few schools by then, there were about 8, I think. The other schools were quite costly. We couldn't afford them. They were doing an excellent job, but the affordability was not there on our side. So we said, okay, now, since we are not able to afford the best, and we don't want to dilute what we want for our child, let's start a school. Now, that school was to take care of other families like us who needed
Yes.
an excellent job
Yeah.
done at an affordable price. And for me, I always think that was the mother of inventing Asifio International Academy.
Wow.
The need for proper procedures and the need for affordable, good Christian education. Yeah. So we started Asifio. And Asifio started, by then when our son was getting into grade 1, our daughter was getting into SE. So we had 2 children. We wanted to enroll on the SE curriculum. And they were already on the SE curriculum. And they started. So we started with 2 children, my daughter and my son. And then my nieces were brought. Now my cousin also studied SE in their home.
Okay.
So I had 2 daughters. So we brought them. Now those were 4 children in the school. But they came in just to give company to these 2. Because for them, they were
in
homeschooling.
School,
Yeah, they were homeschooling, and they wanted to continue with homeschooling. So we told them, come around, because we had...
And where was the school? Was it
school,
at your sitting room? Where did you start? Yeah.
By then, the school is where currently recorded. That's where we started from.
With 1 child and 2 children, you went to pay rent?
Yes, with the 2
children.
2 children.
Your son and your daughter?
And their nieces.
And
2.
their nieces, yes.
Yes. 4.
Wow, 4 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, David, maybe I'm not getting something. Guys, I think we need to get something from David here. That has to be some really a big leap of faith that you went out and even paid rent and started the school with only 4 children, 2 of them being yours, which means you are the one paying school fees. There was no other income coming. Did you take a loan? How do you even start from there?
No, actually it was a really faith, yes. Because we actually started advertising the school before it was even there. And people started saying,
yes.
But you're advertising the school, yes. And it's not there.
The school doesn't exist. Where is the
now,
school? Yes,
the challenge was, the school was supposed to open in Jan.
Yes.
And we were already in March. The challenge was financial. And we tried to look for people who wanted to come and work with us or start, and they were not there. Yeah. So we eventually started somehow, and by the end of that year,
yes,
the children had become 15.
Wow.
And the next year they tripled, and like that.
Wow. So people actually listen to you and brought their children. Would you say these are some of your OBs or OGs? I mean, I'm a trained marketer, and by practice, by skill, and by everything. And I do a lot of training in product development. You earlier on mentioned behavior change communication. I'm a professional of behavior change communication, and I developed communication strategy for behavior change, focusing on strategy, on attitude and perception of people. And a lot of the things that I meet along the way in my line of work, David, is people creating products that don't solve problems. A lot of the products that we have in our market today don't solve problems. And we're always telling people, first, identify the product, the problem in the market. 2, see if there is somebody doing that work. Are they successful? If they are not, then there's something wrong. Why must you come in? What solution are you offering? And a lot of the times we meet people in the boardroom, and they say, no, you don't understand. You too Muzungu, you too this, you come from you don't understand it. but you just practice exactly the same thing we give strategy to corporate companies, and sometimes it fails, to individuals, and sometimes it fails. You have practiced it to the very core. One, need. What is the need right now? That there are so many people who are looking for this, and they don't have the school, they can't afford it. You went for affordability and the need. You did small R&D, research and development there to basically understand it. Bedford Buyungo was the CEO that was here before, and I think he's following. He said he wants to pick a lot of things around education and see how it works. I think Bedford Buyungo would find your interview and this interview really very interesting, because he's into the marketing world and he understands what we're talking about. David, if I take you back there, that right there, what lessons do we pick from there? That you said the school started with 4. You actually rented, advertised before, and now it became 5. So the question I have for you is that is it possible for one to actually start the business the way you've started and be successful? And what lessons do we pick from there? What are some of the deep end lessons that we can pick from there and we can use tomorrow if I want to be like David Rogers Chinto tomorrow and I don't know how to do it, or I've been struggling with it? This is the reason why the CEO bench exists.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Before we started,
yes,
before I even went for training,
yeah,
we did a market survey, and we realized that SCE was going to solve so many people's problems. Okay, the number of gaps which were being addressed by all parents, this and this, so we could listen in. And from my background as a teacher, I also knew the gaps. And when I looked at SCE, I realized it can solve so many problems, so many parents' problems, so many learners' problems. With all due respect, you and I have gone through the national curriculum.
correct,
It made us what we were,
correct,
thankfully.
correct.
But we realized that going ahead for our children, it may not be the solution. So most parents had that feeling, and some were frustrated. They had nowhere. We were also frustrated in the education system, where we're waiting on change and it was not coming.
This is teachers now, from the teachers'
From the teacher's perspective.
Okay.
So we made a survey and asked people around. People didn't know about SCE. Remember, it had been there for about 10 years before we started, but people didn't know about it. So we promised ourselves that we're going to broadcast this good thing. We're going to tell. Our target was young families. When you ask me whether I marketed to my students, actually I'm just beginning to market.
Do it now.
Yeah, because they are going into that middle age bracket with young families.
Okay.
But by then they were not on board. So we marketed. We didn't actually broadcast. We didn't publicize as a few way on the media, on the
mainstream media.
Mainstream media.
Yes, yes.
All I did was go to my inbox, share with the eddies, with the friends, and all those other people about SCE. But they didn't come on board as it is.
Yes.
The most tool that worked for us is referrals. Whoever came in liked what it was doing to their children and shared it to the other parents. I can tell you that with SCE, and maybe Asifiwe in particular, you can bring a child and in 1 month there's a transformation.
Wow.
Total transformation. So the parents who stepped in first shared the good news to other parents. We've never gone out to the mainstream media to advertise Asifiwe. We rely on referrals of the, when someone speaks from their experience, you buy in more than someone just talking about something they heard about.
Yeah, which is far-fetched. So, in other words, David, what we're hearing from you is that, what would you attribute that to? What we're hearing from you is there was something good that was going on. People could see it, they could touch it, they could feel it, and therefore they were able to go and talk freely about it, which is what we always use.
Yeah.
So you actually use the behavior change things you started when you were still in Migade quite very much at this level of starting your school. What would you attribute that element to somebody who is watching the show that pick a lesson from there?
Now, the behavior change program encouraged me to even go into SEE, because SEE is a curriculum that does not only focus on academics, but other development. It's a holistic kind of program.
Okay.
So the behavior change program I introduced was basically to add to the academics which was being provided.
Okay.
Now, SE was now giving me a complete package. And that's what parents have been looking for. How can my child be transformed? They are growing academically, they're growing spiritually, they're growing in any other area of life. Yeah. So when we were presenting SE to parents, they could say, "Oh, this is what I need. This is what I want," and especially when it brings out the best in a child, because SE as it is, it's an individualized what curriculum.
Yeah.
It brings out the child as an individual, not a group, not a stream, not a class. Individual. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you've heard that coming from David Rogers Chintu, who is the founder and the principal of Asifio International School, and the story of how Asifio started and where we are today. He qualifies to be on the CEO bench by all means. David received 10 nominations to come onto the show, and usually the CEO bench, for one to make it to the CEO bench as a guest, you have to be nominated. And we have quite a huge profile of nominations right now before we can bring them to the show. So we've increased the number of nominations, needs to come more, and you have to state why you have nominated that person and for what reason, what is the impact. Do they fall within the leadership change management and transformation that we're looking for? Send us your kisses and disses if you have one for David Rogers Chintu, and he's definitely going to be able to answer that. And we're going to go into transformation. David, what a story right there, and what a moment of transformation that you have going on at Asifio International School. I want to take you straight to the transformational bit of it. Would you say that the thing that you have started with Asifio right now is transforming lives of kids and of parents? And in what ways are you measuring that transformation? And we're looking for a quantifiable, justifiable, measurable metrics. All right? Because you said the parents went and gave the word of mouth outside. The school grew from 1, from 4 to 15, and from 15, how many are they right now? And what kind of, recommendations were they giving out? And what is your measurable metrics to see the impact of that is what we're looking for as transformation.
Okay, thank you. Before the transformation, I want to say, I don't know, I know I'm on the CEO's bench,
yes,
but
yes.
This one CEO is very new in our kind of area,
yes.
education.
Yes.
We have a principal, we have a headmaster. So
yes,
I have to get used to the CEO
so
thing.
the CEO bench is chief, let me put it this, Chief
Executive Officer.
Chief Executive Officer. I was going to be Chief Operation, but now I removed that. Chief Executive Officer. So when you become an headmaster, you're already an executive.
Okay.
Below you here, you've got the deputy head teacher, you've got the head of finance, you've got the dean of students, you've got all of these things going down all the way to the prefect. Now that you have it, so it's already CEO at that level. Now you rise to becoming a principal. Principal means you are dealing with different schools. Not so, if I understand.
No, it's because it's an international
school
curriculum. It's a principal.
So the principal is bigger than, under the principal usually you will have a
deputy principal. No, there is no. Now there is no head teacher. There is no headmaster.
They've removed it. Yes.
You know, it's not
yes.
there.
Because now you are not only dealing with educational staff, the teachers alone, teachers affairs. You are now looking at the business aspect
Of course.
of the school, because the school is a business. You're running a school to provide education for children, and they pay school fees, a business. So you've got to manage that. What Dr. Jinpo Olowo says, business operations. You know, she was on the show here and she kept telling us about business operations. So at that level, you are a level of a CEO, chief executive officer, you know. And while you move from that, you're now going to become the CEO, the executive that looks at everyone down here, including the principal, including all of this. That's where you're going.
I accept.
Yes, that's where you're going to the CEO bench. And so the CEO bench is meant to bring you guys up. So yes,
I accept.
Back to you.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, because you are now going to be nominated, or rather be sworn in, you are moving at a higher level of leadership. So from the president of the Kampala, we want to see you to the president of Rotary International. So that's where you're headed. So you qualify. You're a man on the journey to get there, and so you got that nomination for that. And we want to get you back here when you become the president of Rotary Club to actually tell us what you're going to do.
Rotary.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. But
I'll be glad to say a lot about Rotary.
Yes.
On another day.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So back to you now.
Now, transformation.
Yeah.
Transformation. It's amazing. Education is supposed to be transformational. And if it does not, then it's not education. So we thank God that we are using a curriculum that transforms young people. I used to manage a curriculum where, when I was the head teacher in the national curriculum, we used to get children at the age of 12. Now we get them at the age of 4. And amazing how you have a blank check to write anything on that child's life.
Yes.
And it's an opportunity for us. I always tell my teachers that it's an opportunity for you to make this child what you want. Yeah. And we've gotten amazing feedback from parents. I told you, after a month or two, we start hearing that feedback. And my child can stand up and speak. My child can ask questions. These seem like simple things, but they are life-changing. Yeah. You know, and most of the parents are telling us this is affecting their family. And that's where the beauty is. If it's only affecting one person, it's not a transformation. Yeah. Our vision as Asifiwe says, raising effective, efficient, and complete servant leaders. If you're not effective in your home, then the vision is not working on you. Yeah. So we are glad that the children we touch and we teach are effective in their homes. They're changing things. They're changing their parents. They're asking them questions. They're different. They're confident, right? And you know, confidence is the key to success. So those are the particular transformational benchmarks we are getting from parents. Confident, can pray, leads us in prayer, can stand up and speak, can ask questions, can converse, can follow instructions. And amazingly, at Asifiwe, we have a very rich character program where we look at character traits, and we train children in these 3 character traits, or 1 character trait every month. And these have been very transformational. They look at things which are ignored by many people. Things as simple as timekeeping. When these are added on to the academics, then you'll have a complete product. Yeah, that's how transformational our curriculum is and the school. Wow. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Rogers, for coming. And we're going to ask you one more question before we close. But to you, our viewer, we want to say thank you very much to all of you all across the world. We've got people from Australia, the guys in the US, the guys in Denmark, the guys in Tanzania, and of course our brothers in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you very much, everybody, for being part of the CEO Bench. I just want to remind you as a viewer that the CEO Bench is a program that engages the viewer with very integrative mind maps of one, organization, and the leadership development. It is key for us to look into those elements going forward, and that's what we exist for, as well as, you know, to instantly applicable practices for becoming more effective and dynamic as an individual or as collective. And so we bring you individuals here in the studio who have those qualities, who are practicing some of these things to make sure that you can learn a thing or two from wherever you are all across the world. We would like to say thank you very much for being that. And of course, this program combines intellectual rigor, all right, with personal challenges and collaborations to be able to allow you creatively navigate the turbulent path of life. And so the story of David Rogers Chintu, the principal of Asifue International Academy, on the program today is meant to teach you a thing or two about how you can make changes in your life as an individual, as a family, and also the product you put up out there to people to consume must be a product that looks or seek to address a need in our society or in a community or in a nation, as well as a solution that is affordable and effective for people. We've been having the one and only David Rogers Chintu, who is still on the CEO bench. David, thank you very much. On the scale of transformation and change you have scored, and the learning organization you have scored, we've learned from you today. The level of leadership development we can see in you that you have scored. The practices from the transformational leadership approach we have seen that you have scored. And the personal effectiveness and resilience in that regard we have seen that you have scored. And of course, we looked at the organizational culture of Asifue. You've explained to us what it means, and I think that's a key area of learning for us. And then we're looking at the tool of collaborations as we close the show today. And I want you to touch on that in just a couple of minutes as we close the show. What are the tools of collaboration that you use, and where would you like to see Asifue International School when your time is done?
Well, we are trying to partner with as many organizations as possible to support the learning and teaching we are doing at school. Yeah. Okay, our children are not yet at the university entry level, but soon they will be there. So we are trying to develop that the foundation of how can we help them when they finish school. Can we collaborate with the university? Can we collaborate with a technical institution? Can we collaborate with companies for these children to do their apprenticeship? So we are open to any collaboration. For example, we are collaborating now with a radio program, and we're training children on how to broadcast. And I believe even House of Talent is going to be part of our collaboration. Yeah. To teach them how to be on TV, how to host. I tell you, it's a very gray area. Rather, it's a very unexploited area. Yeah. And it does not only produce children to host, but it also builds their confidence. Yeah. So I'll be glad to collaborate with House of Talent, in addition to other companies. And
we'll be looking forward definitely to collaborate with you. And to all the people out there, you've heard it from David, and as House of Talent, we exist to make sure that we bring the best in people. Of course, our vision here is to inspire and bring you the content that inspires, content that encourages the person to be somebody in life. And of course, if you are encouraged to be somebody else in life, then you must transform yourself as an individual or as a society, as a community, as a people, and of course we'll have greater people in our society. Sure. David, thank you very much for coming to the show. We want to say thank you very much, and a toast to the CEO bench. You have not had your coffee, and we want to say thank you very much, everybody out there. It's a wrap from us here. Until next time, keep it the CEO bench. We'll be back with a new guest next week, same time, same place. David Rogers Chintu, Asifue International, Edio Killer, signing out.
when you start a project, definitely, if it's a good idea, it has gone through the development process, then you start what we call in fundraising. As an institution or even an individual who has a creative project, there is what they call fundraising, and that is if it's a public good, it's a common activity. If it's a business, that's a different thing. So when you're doing a business, creative business project, you're not asking for funding, you're asking for investment. People just get turned off by just being asked. You know, you just come and say, "Why do you give me money?" I'm like, "Who are you?" You know,
why should I give you?
Why should I?
What is it?
How do I get them to know that I exist? You're not asking yet, but you're just trying to check to test the waters and see how whether it's possible. I've met Faisal, I know Eddie. I can, we've had a conversation. I trust what he's going to do. So that trust is built within that asking. Honestly, the money is there. There's a lot of money, and those who know how to find it, they always find it. But then you find others saying, "Oh, that one is taking our money." Yet you didn't make an effort to find it. We have sleepless nights. I wake up at 2 a.m. to write applications, proposals. I try to balance my office daytime and my fundraising time and all the other things. So you really have to make an effort. The US has just put out a call. The State Department has just put out a call for support for a collaborative grant between the US and Uganda. It's for institutions, it's for individuals, for practitioners that are interested in exchanging ideas and knowledge between US and Uganda specifically. And it's quite between $5,000 to $50,000. So it's available. I talked about earlier about the SCP fund, which was it was introduced already here in Uganda before COVID, I think. And finally, we got British Council and HEVA managing this fund for East Africa. So if the call is almost out, I think they'll put it out in May or June. And when that call comes out, you can apply for like 180,000 euros for 3 years, that you can do whatever you want to do. It's both institutional and for individual projects.
Please share it far and wide. We are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And this information will always remain there. You can watch the show anytime. You can share it far and wide. And Faisal will be back here next week. We'll be talking about investment into the creative industry and how we can go about it and who needs what, where, when, how. We'll be talking about it next week. Until next week, Edio Killer, Faisal Chiwewa, the founder and the CEO of Volleyball Foundation, is signing out on the Creative Talk. Welcome to the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Edio Killer, and of course this particular Tuesday we get to discuss the topic of UG creative sector, the challenges and the opportunities in these challenging times. COVID-19 has brought a lot of challenges, but also there are a lot of opportunities that we can take advantage of in this particular time and space to be able to actually become more creative, more successful, and make more money, to say the least. If you find yourself stressed in this period of time, perhaps you have not been a very good creative mind. You need to start thinking more about your creativity so that you are not stressed, because creative people are supposed to make life easier for people. They're supposed to make sure that when I'm stressed, you think for me, you make things creative, turn around things for me, and I'm good to go. But otherwise, welcome to the show. In the studio today, I have the one and only Faisal Chiwewa. Chiwewa. Managing interference.
All the days we've been together, you don't know my name.
Welcome to the show, Faisal. And of course, the one and only Albert Opio Drywood Safari, aka as known to you, is in the studio. Albert, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. And I want to dive to France and welcome Stella Tal in France. How are you this morning from Kampala? Bonjour, ça va bien?
I'm very well, thank you, and good to be with you this morning. Hope everyone is keeping safe. Yes.
Thank you very much, Stella, for that wonderful. I hope you are staying, enjoying the lockdown like we are in Kampala, having, you know, the fact that you are Ugandan living in France. You have to enjoy this life with us. When we're in lockdown, you also have to be in a lockdown. The spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood all together, Stella. But Faisal, you are traveled.
I always travel.
This lockdown. We want to know, what was the experience like?
It's not very easy these days to travel during this period, but of course it's not that difficult as people expect. So I had a very smooth engagement with my friends, and it was a good break away from. I haven't been in Europe for almost a year. I think it's last March. I think since last January. So going there now, a lot of things have changed, to be honest, and you realize that people have trying to define new ways of living. You know, trying to see how they can move on with this whole madness that is going on. Yeah. But also the other thing is that we hadn't been in theater since this time. So it was, for me, it was amazing to sit in an auditorium with around 100 people watching a production, and I was like, wow, I miss this. I miss this kind of experience again. So it was really nice to you know, watch some concerts, engage with some peers, and talk about the what's going on around the world. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Abato Pio, you traveled all the way from your place to here. What was the experience like?
Luckily, I did not go to Amuria. I was about to go to Amuria, and then they locked us down.
Wow.
That means I was going to go there and I don't come back.
Yes, and stay there for 42 days.
For the 42 days.
We're just on 4 days only. 4 days of the 42, and guys already stressed.
Already. We have 38 to go. Yeah, but I mean, what can we do? We have to survive.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen and lady, welcome to the show. I want to just take you guys through, first of all, to the discussion today. This Tuesday, we are discussing the creative industry talk, and we are looking at the UG creative sector, the challenges and the opportunities in these challenging times. I call these challenging times because a lot has gone on. We've just come out from the lockdown. We are back in the lockdown again. There's a lot of talks that we are likely going to go for the next 14 days after this, as it is, has always been. 14 days, then we'll get another 14 days. Before you know it, the year is ending, and you don't know what to do. But in this, you know, challenging situation, there's also opportunity in there. I believe that there's opportunity, a lot of it, and we can take advantage of. But I want to take you guys from the creative sector point of view. Creative sector is one of the fastest growing, you know, parts of Uganda economy, whether we like it or not. And as such, it offers very great opportunity for local Ugandans here, as well as the business here, to, you know, do things in a very particular way, expose our products. But particularly in the film industry, we can see that there's a lot of growth going on. TV productions, we're seeing sports, we're seeing games, we're seeing the digital marketing has become something of a new development. As we talked about last time, Opio, you were trying to learn how to get into TikTok so that you're not left behind. And but that, gentlemen, with today's digital technologies, UG Creatives businesses can also easily take advantage of the following things, which is actually the center of our discussion today. One, connect with the wider market. We want to know, how do we connect with the wider market going forward? Two, find new distribution channels. We talked about this before. In this time that we're in lockdown, how can we find new distribution channels? You know, channels. And the third thing I want us to talk about is identify the global demand for creative products and services. You have just come back from Germany. We want to know from you, did you see some opportunity for us there? Or opportunities for us there? Can we take advantage of, can Opio's quick TikTok begin to get to Germany very quickly using your contacts? That's what we're looking for. The network and collaborations with the creative business sectors are really key at the moment. And I want to start with you, Abat Opio. Challenges for the creative businesses are quite a number of them. While many benefits come out very easily, the digital advances are also here. You told us, took us through the process of, you know, the film and then the digital world, how things were done, how some people were being knocked out. But so does the major challenges that comes with finding the market. You know, how do we find the market? How do we expose ourselves? But I want to say this. Creative industry subsectors are quite robust and it's big, and we want to start from the advertising world where you come from, the architecture world, the crafts. We want to go into the design and the designer fashion, which Stella Tal will talk about, the digital and entertainment media, which Faiza Chiwewa here will talk about, the film and photography, which I will chip in the 1 or 2 on that part, but also the publishing of it. Of here, we'll go back to you again in that regard. Software development and electronics. Can creative people also develop their own software? We're hearing a lot of software development in every aspect, but we don't hear one for creative. Maybe if it's there, we don't know. But Albert, to start with, there are challenges and opportunity in this lockdown. From the advertising point of view, how can we expose our product?
Well, thanks, Eddie. But then the advertising industry is unique in a way, because you must have a contract with a client for you to do any work. So without a contract, it's difficult. The key thing is getting that contract that then allows you, is it 3 months, is it 6 months, is it 12 months? The advertising industry is going through a change where so many things are changing. Media consumption patterns are changing. So the people who read newspapers are a different segment. They're not growing, maybe they're shrinking. The number of people who go to websites, this number, the guys who go to YouTube. Websites these days have video embedded in their channel. Almost every website these days has video, which means that people are moving from reading into interactive audio and video spaces. So it's changing so quickly that even advertising in the advertising industry is wondering how to go about it. It is broken down into traditional advertising agencies, which generate the creative ideas. Then it's broken down to those who actually buy the media. It's beginning to be segregated. Those who do production are different. Those who do production for digital spaces are different. So it is breaking up into many small silos. So what big agencies are doing is that they are buying all these small ones and keeping them the way they are, such that they're different, so that they can get business from all the different clients. Gone is the time where one advertising agency can be able to help a client in all facets of the things that are changing. So that's what's happening right now. So you find now digital agencies on their own, all they do is digital. Others just do media buying. Others just do experiential marketing. So things are really changing. So which is good, but it is stressing the traditional model of advertising, because most advertising agencies, first of all, they got a retainer that helps them to pay their overheads, because the retainer is based on the number of staff who are going to be working on that particular job. But then the agency made money from commissions of media, commissions of TV, commissions of outdoor, of print, and things like that. So when clients are removing the media buying or production components from the traditional agency, then you're going to struggle to survive, because now there's not enough money. As a business, it is not enough for you to survive. So those bigger agencies are breaking down into smaller ones, and all they're trying to do is reduce the overhead costs. And that's what's disrupting the industry, really.
Wow.
But the biggest challenge as well, if you move it away from advertising to add music or production or the movie industry, advertising, creativity is almost like farming. People only buy what has already been produced. That means everybody must first put in, you must first finish your song.
Yes.
Produce it to a certain standard.
Yes.
Then you must promote it.
Yes.
So basically, the expenses that go into creativity are high.
Yeah.
So a small thing like a lockdown, I'm calling it small, but
Yes.
it's big.
Yes.
When a lockdown happens, people go straight into losses because they have put all their money up front, which is different from all other businesses. If they pay you before, when you walk to buy a shirt in a shop, you first hand in the money before they give
money
you.
and that's it. Yeah.
So similar with the farmer, if I plant tomatoes, nobody wants to know about my tomatoes
Yeah.
until the tomatoes are ripe. Now there's a challenge. How do I sell those tomatoes before they go bad? That's exactly what creativity is.
Wow.
Which is a very, very difficult model to sustain, because you must put in money first before you even earn. Because many times you don't make that money. Yeah. And that causes financial distress.
Wow. Faisal, you have had, Pio has just broken something down, and I'm beginning to think about, because I've fallen in that category where he says you put in money and then lockdown come and things are sweet. You don't know what to do. You have these things with you. But yes, Faisal, let's pick it up from you, from the digital and entertainment, place where you are, and the music and visual performing arts, where you start.
Yeah, I mean, as Opia said, I mean, the challenges are the same, the effects are the same. I think the advantages, I come from a multidisciplinary approach. There are industries or subsectors within the entertainment or the creative industries that we work in, or the performing arts, that are being much more affected than the others. For those who are doing music, it's kind of an advantage for some, because there are opportunities for distribution online, digital distribution. There are opportunities for buying and selling, audio. There are opportunities of some small or shows that are happening indoors and something like that. But there are other sectors that are totally blacked out, like theater. I can imagine what all the actors that we've known, from Bakaimbira to Talent, or which Afri Talent, but what are they all doing? And then you go to the film, the downtown film industry. What are they doing? Then you go to the visual arts. They are not, all the galleries are closed. People don't have money, even if they could access the work. So there are those that are very much affected, and there are those that are kind of could have been easier to work with. So the film industry has been very fortunate that Pearl Magic has come on the market. Of course, they are not working with everyone, but there are opportunities for those who have good work. Like Opia said, that when you create content, then people can sell it. Actually, for film, there are advantages that some of them get co-production costs covered, so that you have a good script, it's liked, then like what Pearl Magic is doing, they are investing in the content themselves. The only thing I find interesting about it, that they invest in the content and they take the rights. I was actually talking to one of the producers, and they were like, how dare you?
But the rights, the problem is they're not being honest. The rights of this thing belongs to Pearl Magic. They come with it and say, can you produce? Like if I come and say, Faisal, if I write a script, I mean, there's what they call commissioning in film production. So Albert Opio has a very good idea and wants to produce this, and he has the money, but he can't produce it. So Albert Opio will say, Eddie, can I commission you to produce this content for me? It doesn't mean that because I am being commissioned to produce this program, originally the idea originates from Opio, so Opio will definitely have the copyright.
No, the incident or the case I was talking about was the writer had the script, but they didn't have the money. Okay. So they went to Pearl Magic. Pearl Magic, maybe I shouldn't say that. They might say
no, it's okay.
But then they went.
The conversation that has been
and then they went, but they were willing. They were not forced or whatever. Not cheated at all. I was like, are you sure? Like, that was the only way for his script to get out.
Yes.
And
so he had to give the right. The right was paid for and taken. So you can't complain. Yes.
And you can't complain. But but I wouldn't do that. Yeah. That is like selling your soul. But of course. He sees more opportunities coming. So industries are being affected differently at different levels. Yes. And I think, but also, I mean, when you look at advertising, I don't know how much advertising we are consuming these days. When it comes like, of course, everyone wants to go on YouTube, everyone is on social media. But when you look at all this physical advertising, it's not much relevant anymore. Of course, I don't know whether it's just even not adding any color to the city or anything else, but it's also very much downsized because people are not buying much stuff and the investments are not there. So there are so many different segmentations when it comes to this challenge.
Okay, I want us to go to Faisal. Faisal Opio. I want us to go to Stella Attal in France. I went to Stella Attal. Let's talk about fashion and design, where you are comfortable. Are we taking the opportunities amidst these challenges that we have, these challenging times of COVID-19 pandemic all across the world and in Uganda? How are you people in that space taking advantage of that? And if at all you are navigating the challenges and the opportunities, which of course Opio and Faisal said they are, how are you taking advantage of it? Selata?
I think now I'm going to talk as a Ugandan designer on behalf of the Ugandan designers. There are lots of opportunities actually for the fashion designers because of the lockdown and because you have to stay at home. There is a lot that you can do. You have to just divert your interest from your comfort zone and now deal with the prevailing demand of the public. People are working from home, so they need clothes to put on when they're working. People, when they're attending to meetings, they must put on like especially like the top. You must look like elegant, like you're in the office. Then you must have clothes for home. Most people spend less time at home, but now they are home like 24/7. So they need clothes to put on when they're home. You're not going to put on your nice dress you used to put on to go maybe like to a corporate function or to go for a cocktail. They need clothes like that. Then we need clothes for the frontliners. That's a very big market. When you look even in Europe, all the doctors, people who are working on the front line, they are given maybe like 1 or 2 uniforms because there is a lot of demand and few people are doing that. So you find that they go out of their pockets